college football. Clemson rallies to beat Boston College. You're watching this game Saturday on your local ABC station. It's 28-10 Boston College. It's a 15-point lead for the Eagles at the break. But Uiagalelei comes in, plays well. Trevor Lawrence, though, will not play in the biggest game the ACC, I think, has had in about 5 years. Clemson at Notre Dame, Saturday under the lights in South Bend. Dabo making the news official yesterday.
Trevor will not be able to play. Just want to go ahead and get that out there. You know, he's doing great. You know, he Zoomed with the team last night, talked to him this morning. He feels like he could play today, so he's doing well. But obviously there's a protocol in place, and so he will be out.
One thing I want to quickly mention, Uiagalelei grew up, his favorite player growing up, USC's Reggie Bush. I think USC's Keyshawn Johnson. And by the way, this is the biggest game in South Bend since the Bush push.
The Bush push.
So think about it. It all comes full circle. All right, Key, with how good Justin Fields, or Jake Fromm, no, with how good Justin Fields is playing, will Trevor Lawrence missing last week's game and obviously this week's game, could that put Fields in pole position for the Heisman? By the way, Fields this year, 7 touchdowns, 7 incompletions. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, look,
think about that for a second.
If he continues on now, we've only seen him play 2 games, right?
Right.
And if Trevor Lawrence is missing game after game after game, at some point he's only going to be able to play a number of games. And Justin Fields' number of games is probably topped at, 8, 9? I don't know exactly the number. But
9 if they play a Big Ten title.
Yeah, 9. So you figure 9 games, and Trevor Lawrence is probably going to play 8 or 9 games in the ACC schedule. And you look at the numbers, you look at the comparisons, and you look at what that team is doing for, or that player is doing for his team, Justin Fields is in the mix. That's why I always say about these sort of things, whether it's the Heisman, whether it's draft picks, we got a long ways to go before we start declaring, oh, he's winning the Heisman. This was before the Big Ten even started, right? And then all of a sudden, what if somebody out in the Pac-12 country go nuts for those little 8 games that they're going to play? Just go bonkers. All right, and now are we giving the trophy to Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, even though somebody out west done went just bonkers? So you got to let it play out before we start declaring someone the winner way beforehand.
The only thing that factors into this is COVID, realistically. Look, Justin Fields and his numbers are incredible, but we don't know what's going to happen in the Big Ten. We don't look what's happened with Wisconsin. They're missing games and missing a lot of players. Still so much football left to be played.
So much.
Justin Fields is second, though, right now compared to Trevor Lawrence being first. That's because Trevor Lawrence has a head start.
And just to give you
just a little bit of a head start.
Yes, plenty of time to go. To give you a little bit of an update on what's going on in Wisconsin, when we last convened here Friday, they had about a dozen positive tests. Now it's up to 22.
Exactly.
22, and they're going to make a decision on their game against Purdue. They're scheduled to play Purdue on Saturday. They're going to try to make that decision tomorrow. Jay shaking his head, I would agree with you. It seems unlikely in any way, shape, or form that they could play that game.
And that's one team. That's one team. Who knows what happens moving forward?
Yes, indeed. Here's one more team in the Big Ten I want to talk about. Not Ohio State, not Wisconsin. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Straight up, the most head-scratching decision in the Big Ten on Saturday was Mel Tucker and Michigan State coming off a 7-turnover performance, losing to Rutgers, traditionally one of the worst teams in all of college football.
Congratulations, Zubin.
Thank you. Stunning Michigan for his first career win, dropping Jim Harbaugh even further down, 67 games into his tenure. Some people think this is the worst loss they have had, considering where little brother, quote-unquote, Michigan State is. Shout out to Mike Hart if you're listening. Here's Harbaugh after the game on the debacle against the Spartans.
We would be in rhythm, and then we wouldn't, or we wouldn't be in rhythm, and then we'd get it. And it just it didn't finish, the drives as and be in rhythm throughout the drive like we wanted to.
Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. As I mentioned, Key, this is 67 games into Harbaugh's tenure. This is his 6th year on the job, and people are saying on Saturday it was the worst performance of the Harbaugh era. Is that acceptable?
I'm not a Michigan guy, but I would think for those that are Michigan guys, the Charles Woodsons and the Amani Toomer's, guys that I know, they certainly would look at this as this is not working out. Braylon Edwards, it's just not working out. And it's okay. Yes, he went to Michigan and he's beloved by the Michigan faithful and all of those sort of things. But sometimes you have to think with your head and not with your heart. And I think when you look at this situation, if you're okay with never beating Ohio State and always going to the Citrus Bowl or something like that, then Outback Bowl, because they do a lot of Outback Bowls, Michigan. if you're okay with that, I'm fine with it. I'm not, I personally feel and believe that he's a better NFL coach than he is a college coach, because he may wear you out after 4 or 5 seasons because of his personality. At least that's what we saw when he was with the 49ers. Doesn't mean the second time around. Now, remember, he's only been a head coach in the National Football League for one organization, and that was the 49ers. So this notion that he wears you out all the time, that only happened in San Francisco. We don't know if it'll happen a second time around. I just think he's a better equipped style, mentality for the NFL, because when you go into coaching in college, you got to almost be like a guy that is looking out for the kids' best interest and all sorts of positive outlooks on things. And father figure. And I don't necessarily think that recruits, even though he gets some top dudes, once they in there, they realize you're all lies. And that's kind of been the recruiting situation at Michigan. They don't look up how many guys he's recruited that finished with him at Michigan throughout those 4 years that they signed up for. They leave. They transfer out. They just do. And a lot of it is because his style. But I think he'll be a hell of a coach in the NFL, man.
It'd be interesting to see what happens this upcoming year, because his last year of his deal, he's owed close to around $10 million. That would be the buyout for Michigan. Yeah, they did choose to move on from him. $10 million buyout.
If I'm the Jets, for instance, that'll be looking for a new coach, or anybody else that's out there looking for a new coach, I'll pay that.
You're bringing him on board if you're the Jets?
I ain't got no problem. None.
No.
I like him as a pro coach.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.